What if your motivation didn't disappear? What if it went on strike because you kept overworking it? Because maybe the problem isn't that you're lazy. Maybe it's that motivation finally quit. Donkey Brain steps into his inner workspace expecting chaos. Papers usually spill off the desk. Half-finished plans sit in uneven stacks. Coffee rings stain the surface like evidence of effort. Today it's quiet. Too quiet. The lights hum softly overhead as Donkey Brain slows down, ears tilting forward. Something feels off, the kind of off you notice before you can explain it. He walks toward the center desk. Motivation's desk. The chair is empty. No notebook. No scribbled ideas. No half-drunk coffee growing cold. The chair slowly spins, untouched. Donkey Brain blinks. That's strange, his posture says. He's usually late, but never absent. What if your motivation didn't disappear? What if it walked out? Donkey Brain checks the clock. Still nothing. Tasks pile up around the room. Unopened emails, goals waiting patiently, projects frozen mid-thought. He feels the familiar sensation creep in. The desire to do things, without the ability to start. He sits in motivation's chair. Feels wrong. Too big. Too empty. On the desk lies a single sticky note. No drama. No explanation. Just 5 words. I can't do this alone. Donkey Brain's shoulders sink. He recognizes this feeling instantly. You care. You want to try. But the engine doesn't turn. We're taught to treat motivation like a personality trait. Something you either have or lack. Donkey Brain rubs his face. If I want this, his silence asks, why won't my body move? Without motivation, everything feels heavier. Starting feels like effort. Choosing feels like work. The office keeps humming, systems still running in the background. But something essential is missing. And for the first time, Donkey Brain wonders, what if motivation didn't fail him? What if it finally got tired of being blamed for everything? Donkey Brain leaves the empty desk behind and walks down a long hallway inside his mind. Each door is labeled. Each one slightly worn like it's been opened too many times. He stops at the first door. Discipline. Inside, Discipline stands straight-backed, clipboard in hand, checking boxes with mechanical precision. No music. No windows. Just rules. You're still working? Donkey Brain asks. Discipline nods without looking up. I don't rely on motivation, Discipline says flatly. I operate on schedules. Donkey Brain watches closely. Discipline hasn't stopped, but he hasn't smiled either. His movements are stiff, efficient, exhausted. Discipline can keep things moving, but it cannot make the work feel meaningful. Donkey Brain continues down the hall. Next door. Fear. Inside, fear paces in tight circles. The walls are covered with warning signs, imagined headlines, unfinished arguments. I tried to help. Fear blurts out. I kept him alert, careful, ready. Donkey Brain nods slowly. Fear did keep him safe once. Now fear mostly keeps him stuck. Fear is great at preventing pain. It's terrible at creating progress. Further down the hallway, Donkey Brain finds a softer room. Comfort. Comfort lounges on a couch surrounded by familiar habits. Old shows, endless scrolling, easy distractions. Motivation burned out, Comfort says calmly, so I stepped in. Donkey Brain feels the truth land. Comfort didn't sabotage him. Comfort filled the silence. When motivation disappears, comfort fills the gap, not because it helps but because it soothes. Donkey Brain steps back into the hallway heavier than before. Motivation didn't leave because it was lazy. It left because everything else expected it to carry the load alone. And suddenly, Donkey Brain understands something uncomfortable. Maybe motivation wasn't the problem. Maybe it was the way he used it. At the end of the hallway, Donkey Brain finds a door he doesn't remember opening before. It's smaller, quieter, almost hidden. A faded label hangs crooked, performance reviews. Inside, filing cabinets stretch from floor to ceiling. Dust floats in the air like neglected thoughts. Donkey Brain pulls out a folder at random. The name on the tab stops him. Motivation. He opens it. Page after page slides out. Show up every day. Be consistent no matter what. Make hard things feel easy. Override fear. Ignore fatigue. Push through. Donkey Brain's ears lower with each line. We talk about motivation like it's fuel, but motivation isn't fuel. It's a signal. Donkey Brain keeps reading. There are no notes about rest. No mention of safety. No allowance for doubt. Just expectations. At the bottom of the file, a handwritten note is stapled loosely. Status: burnout. Donkey Brain finally finds motivation in the back of the room. Not dramatic, not rebellious, just small. Motivation sits on the floor, back against a cabinet, knees pulled in. I didn't quit, Motivation says quietly. I ran out. Donkey Brain sits beside him. Motivation continues, eyes tired but honest. I show up when there's meaning, when effort connects to something that matters, when I'm not the only one doing the emotional lifting. The words sting because they're true. Donkey Brain realizes he's been demanding output without nourishment, progress without recovery, passion without permission to feel human. Motivation responds to emotional conditions. When the nervous system feels unsafe or exhausted, motivation shuts down to conserve energy. Motivation looks up. I'm not lazy, he says. I'm protective. The room feels quieter now, heavier but clearer. Donkey Brain closes the file slowly. For the first time, he doesn't feel angry at motivation. He feels responsible. Donkey Brain leaves the records room carrying something heavier than paperwork. Awareness. He walks past familiar doors until he reaches one he rarely visits. It's smaller, less official. No bold signage. A handwritten label hangs crooked. Curiosity. Inside, the room feels different. Softer lighting. Open windows. Half-formed ideas scattered around without pressure to become anything yet. Curiosity looks up from the floor, gently poking at a thought like it's a puzzle, not a test. You're not here to push me, are you? Curiosity asks. Donkey Brain shakes his head. No, his posture admits. I'm here because I don't know what else to do. Curiosity smiles. What if that's enough to start? Motivation doesn't respond to force. It responds to safety, clarity, and emotional permission. Curiosity stands and gestures toward a small table. On it sits a single task, tiny and almost unimpressive. Not a goal, not a milestone, just a step. No pressure, Curiosity says. You don't have to finish. You just have to touch it. Donkey Brain hesitates, then tries. The task doesn't feel inspiring. It doesn't feel exciting, but it feels doable. This is how motivation actually returns, not through intensity but through approachability. Something shifts behind Donkey Brain. Motivation stirs. Not energized, not ready to sprint, just awake. Donkey Brain notices the change immediately. His chest loosens. His breath deepens. He isn't motivated. He's engaged. Curiosity nods knowingly. When action feels safe, motivation follows, Curiosity says. Not the other way around. Donkey Brain exhales. This isn't about waiting to feel ready. It's about lowering the cost of beginning. And for the first time in a while, starting doesn't feel like betrayal of his limits. Feels like cooperation. The office doesn't transform overnight. It's still imperfect, still cluttered, still human. But something has shifted. Motivation returns to the desk without ceremony. No announcement, no surge of energy, just presence. Donkey Brain notices the difference immediately. Motivation isn't pacing anymore. It isn't panicking. It isn't trying to carry everything by itself. Discipline stands nearby, steady but no longer rigid. Curiosity hovers close, asking gentle questions. Fear is acknowledged, not obeyed. Comfort remains but no longer in charge. Motivation doesn't disappear when you're broken. It withdraws when it's overused. Donkey Brain sits down to work. Not with urgency, not with pressure, with honesty. He starts small. A single task, one imperfect action. Motivation leans in, not pushing, not demanding, just responding. We think motivation creates movement, but often movement creates motivation when the movement feels emotionally safe. Donkey Brain pauses when he gets tired. He rests without guilt. When frustration rises, he notices it instead of forcing through. Motivation stays. That's the difference. Motivation didn't need more discipline. It needed less punishment. As the day goes on, the office hums again. Not louder, just healthier. Donkey Brain looks at the empty chair that once scared him. He smiles softly. Motivation didn't go on strike. It set a boundary. If you can't start, it doesn't mean you don't care. It means something inside you needs support before it can move. Donkey Brain stands, stretches, and shuts off the lights. Tomorrow won't be perfect, but now starting won't feel like self-betrayal.